The team is going head-to-head in a battle to prove which state in the Pacific Northwest is the squatchiest, Washington or Oregon. After splitting up between states, both teams came away with some Squatch action on their first night investigations. So while Team Oregon investigates more of Cliff's contacts, Ranae and Matt gathered together the most recent witnesses in Washington for a town hall meeting.
Whoop, whoop, whoop. Went back and forth for about 10, 11 seconds. Then the one that was whooping whistled twice. 2 sharp whistles, and that was it. I just stood there in awe. Like, I was just like, wow.
My sighting happened on the backside of Vancouver Lake, kind of on the Columbia River. About 2:30 in the morning, I was going catfishing with my buddy, and I picked up my flashlight and I scanned the forest. And probably about 20 foot to my left, there was 2 big eyes, probably about yay big. And you know, they were up there about 9 foot. And I panicked. It took 2 steps and it cleared by about 15 foot. And the grass was probably about yay tall. And
Toward you?
Walked towards me. If he would have stepped another 5 foot towards me, I probably would have been smelling his belly button. That's about how tall he was.
It was up in Mount St. Helens area at Ape Caves, and we're on a trail, and we're just kind of hanging out, and I see what looks like a couple of kids running around playing in the woods. And then I kind of look over, I was like, those are some hairy kids. To me, it looked like a couple of orangutans, and one goes behind a tree, and the other one stopped and was like looking at me. And just then he goes, and he like turns. When I see him turn, I see this arm go up, and there's like this wispy hair. But when he was standing there, I could see like kind of, he had like a little tummy. I could see like the light shining off of it, and his neck was short. And...
It's great to be back in my home state of Washington and hosting a town hall meeting. As expected, lots of people came forward and shared their encounters. But 2 recent accounts really stood out to us, Carlton and Laura. I want to get to the bottom of these 2 encounters because I want Team Washington to win. If we were able to find Bigfoot in my home state, that would be the ultimate bragging rights. And Cliff and Bobo would never live it down.
1 point, Team Washington. Successful town hall.
Look at this. We're like 2 miles out of town and there's practically perfect Bigfoot habitat already. Imagine the number of deer that cruise through here every night.
This place is squatchy as hell the more you look at it.
I think I know Bigfoots pretty well, and I certainly know Bobo very well. So I have a special treat for him today. We're going to a vineyard where the owners think a Bigfoot has been coming onto the property, moving rocks aside in search of hibernating ground squirrels. Bigfoots are found wherever there's food, water, and cover. And if you go to a fertile valley like the Willamette Valley, where there's orchards and farm and forest right outside, you're gonna find Bigfoots there.
Yeah, we gotta talk to this dude because who knows, maybe his workers are mad at him and they're screwing around, they're just playing a joke on him. You know, it might be doable by a human.
If it is a human, it's almost like a Scooby-Doo plot twist, though, trying to scare the vineyard owner off.
Good thing I watched a lot of Scooby-Doo. I'll get to the bottom of this.
Hello. How's it going? I'm Jay.
Cliff.
Cliff, nice to meet you.
Hey, Jay Bobo.
Bobo, nice
to meet you.
So we understand you might have some nocturnal visitors?
Yeah, we had some pretty strange activity here. We bring these giant rocks up to the soil all the time, and so we have to pull them out, otherwise it'll destroy like the tilling machine, so we collect them in this pile. One morning I arrived and many large rocks were kind of moved a large distance from the pile, which is just very strange. This is something that no one would do that worked here, obviously, because it's very difficult to drive the tractor over the top of them, so. I think maybe this is a squatchy place. I don't know.
Dude, look at it.
It clearly is. Food, water, cover.
Yeah.
Which one of those things is missing from here?
Right,
None of them.
yeah, we have all of those things.
I wasn't surprised at all to hear a good Bigfoot report came from a vineyard, but the reason this one jumped out at Cliff and I is because of the Glenn Thomas sighting. Back in 1967, Glenn Thomas watched a family of Bigfoots going through a pile of rocks. And this reminds me of the Glenn Thomas sighting because you had squatches moving big rocks trying to get the squirrels. You know, little squatch buffets.
That's it?
This is
Ooh.
it. Yeah.
So there was rocks being thrown as big as those, but landing all the way out by the vineyard?
Exactly, yeah. And that's why it was so noticeable, is because they had been moved so far. And
That's a good 25 feet at least. I gotta see this. I'm trying to pick this thing up.
don't lift with your back. Yeah.
Now throw that 20 or 30 feet, Bobo.
Yeah.
Almost.
I go about 30 inches max. Yeah. But how much do you weigh, Cliff?
I'm like 190, 195.
May I?
Absolutely.
That rock was at least 150. Yeah. It took a little effort to lift the rock. It wasn't that hard, but there's no way I could throw it. Even when I was crabbing and throwing 125-pound crab pots all day, I couldn't have thrown that thing more than 4 or 5 feet max. It all adds up to squatch.
Well, I don't see any reason to discount that Sasquatches are actually the culprits here.
You know, as long as they don't go out and eat the crop at harvest time, I'm super happy to have them here. And
I'm inclined to think that Jay actually had a Sasquatch on his property that night. People think they need like super thick old growth forests and stuff, and that's absolutely false. They don't need a lot of cover, and where there's very little cover, if they're seen, they just drop to the ground and blend right in.
1 point, Team Oregon. Squatchy location.
To Bigfoot in Oregon.
cheers.
Team Washington, which is me and Ranae, have come out to the Columbia Gorge to check out Carlton's sighting. He was the one who came to the town hall meeting and talked about having an incident while he was catfishing in the middle of the night along a part of the Columbia River just outside of the city of Vancouver. So the two interesting things about this case are the location and because he described kind of a sustained intimidation. This thing came around, obviously, in my interpretation, trying to scare these guys into leaving. And if there's a Bigfoot around here doing that sort of thing, well, we're hoping it'll do it to us.
Hey, Carlton. Thanks so much for coming out here and meeting us.
No problem.
Appreciate it.
This is where it happened?
Yes, up here between these two trees coming off the trail from the road up there. It was August 2011, right around 2:15 in the morning. First thing I saw was just a big outline of like a giant person. It took 2 steps towards me. And it turned and it ran through the forest. It probably took maybe a good 5-6 steps. That was the last we heard of it.
At that distance, can you describe every detail of what you saw in this figure?
Well, basically, I saw that it had 2 eyes, probably about a good 2 inches in diameter, and you can just see the entire outline. It was just like a person standing off in the shadows, you know, it's just a big figure.
Did you get any more details as it's pacing around you?
No, when it was pacing us, you couldn't actually see it.